Next will be Vicent Partal, who is the founding editor of VilaWeb, the first and most widely read digital Catalan newspaper. He is also the chairman of the board of the European Journalism Center. He has been foreign correspondent covering international conflicts for various newspapers and media such as Spanish television and Catalunya Radio. He's considered a pioneer of digital news in Spain and is the author of several books on journalism and politics, among them, and most recently, the Desclasificat Novena, Declassified November 9th, which is about the non-binding referendum on Catalonia's independence in 2014, and A un pam de la independència, Inches Away from Independence.
Thank you, Professor Resina, for inviting me to this panel. Thank you to all of you for coming. Being a journalist and being myself a foreign affairs journalist for a long time, I'm very aware of how difficult it is to understand things like happening in Catalonia this last October. So I will try to summarize 5 aspects I think are very relevant on everything happening in Catalonia, and probably after on the debate we will have time to discuss on this. First and very important, this is not an ethnic conflict. This is not at least an ethnic conflict as we understand it, as we have seen these kind of conflicts all around the world. It's much more complicated than this. This is not in any way a conflict between Spaniards and Catalans, where you find Spaniards on one side and Catalans on the other side, and there is no way that a Spaniard can support independence or a Catalan can be against independence. This is a mixed situation where you find citizens of Catalonia that, regardless their origin, their language, they are deciding if they support or not independence, mostly based on on their political motivation and the way they understand is better for the country to live. So it's if you think in this conflict in the same terms we have seen in other parts of Europe or in other parts of the world, you're wrong. This is not an ethnic conflict anyway. Of course there is backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, economic backgrounds, as Professor Palucia told us. Since the last time Catalonia became part of Spain in 1814, after 2 years of being part of France and 2 years of being an independent republic, since this time always there has been a conflict, as you told us very recently. There has been always a debate on how Catalonia can fit or not within Spain. But this is not this history and this cultural background and this language or even this economy is not driving the process. The process is being driven by politics, but the assumption of a large part of the society that there is no way to continue being part of the Spanish state the way it is today. And I think Professor Royo's description on how it works, it's perfect, and I don't need to add a single comma to this explanation. So first, this is not an ethnic conflict, but a conflict on how to organize societies, how to organize a country, how to organize a group of people. That, of course, echoes movements that has been happening in other parts of Europe and the world and in recent years, because this chronic capitalism taking place is making that everyone thinks where we are, how we can live in this kind of world. So second, this is basically a political problem. The question is a political question. It's not probably the most difficult question for Spain is how to solve a political question without using political tools. This is the thing they are intending to do, and this is impossible. So they will, they can win a battle, they can win some moments, but it's impossible to stop a political movement without the political tools. And I think in this case, it's very significant and very interesting, the case of Quebec and Canada, how Canadians understood that Quebec was moving if Canada doesn't change, and they changed Canada. That was the way to keep Quebec inside Canada. This is not the case in Catalonia and Spain, especially when they broke this constitutional pact that Professor Royo was telling us before with the autonomous chart. The big question for Catalans was, okay, we have been working for 4 decades, Spaniards and Catalans, in order to modernize the country, to be part of the European Union, etc., etc., etc. And how can we continue to be part of this if they refuse to allow us even the rights that were right in the Spanish Constitution? And this is the big problem for the Catalan people today. Third, this is normal. I understand that for us it is not normal. I understand that for Catalans this is not normal in any way. But this is normal in the world. The world works this way. The collision between law and vote, law and democracy, maybe you can elaborate this, is a classic in any political debate. There is nothing exceptional. There is nothing that you can say something is happening that it's absolutely new, absolutely challenging to the world. No, this is a normal political debate. So the question is about the method to solve it. In a normal democracy, when you have a big political problem, the only solution could be talks and votes, ballot boxes and discussions. There's no other solution. In the third world or in the dictatorship countries, you can put the tanks and the guns in the streets, but not in Europe, not now. Even if they did it on October the 1st to some extent, but not so much, okay? So the question is, how do we solve this question? There is a political problem in Catalonia. No one can say, no one can deny that there is a major political problem. When you have half of the population, let's say that, half of the population saying, this is not my constitution, I didn't accept that constitution, I want to become an independent country, you have a serious problem. And you must deal with this problem the way countries deal with this problem, which is, let's talk and let's vote. The problem is that the Spanish government refused even to talk. Not only to vote, but even to talk. All the proposals made by the autonomous Convergencia y Unión, for instance, the traditional pro-autonomy political party, in the beginning of the movement for independence, they were making proposals on a fiscal pact, of several agreements, etc., etc. They refused even to talk, not even to negotiate, even to talk. And that's where we are. The refuse to a political solution. Spain is all the time refusing. There is a political solution to the Catalan question. Of course, from a legal point of view, it is very difficult. The position we have now in Catalonia, it is because if one of the parts doesn't want to dialogue, then it's very difficult to find a way to dialogue, but it is also because of the technicalities of the dialogue. The right of self-determination is a universal right, but everyone agrees on that, but only on that, not on which one have the right to self-determination. We are, next year, I think it's 100 years from the President Wilson points, and it's 100 years of discussion on how to use the right of self-determination. Well, in Catalonia, basically, part of the population, a large part of the population is asking for using the right, but there is no a clear understanding in the world of how to use it. We have some clues. It has been very important and very relevant, for instance, the decision on Kosovo of the International Court that clarifies a lot about international law and self-determination, but it is not easy to agree on this, and especially if one of the sides doesn't want to. They just want to say no to self-determination also. Fourth, as you said, this is basically a grassroots movement, and this is very important. This is a bottom-up movement. Of course, there is for some media stories, it's much more easy and much more sexy to speak about guys manipulating the population and all this kind of stories. But it is not true, and everyone who has been in Catalonia last years understand that this is not true. That the movement force, basic force, is people. People in the streets, people in every city, in every little town, organizing themselves and moving the process ahead. And this is very relevant. And it is relevant also that for the first time, at least the first time I remember, we have politicians that agree on do what people ask them to do. It's not normal, I know. But that is happening in Catalonia, and that's very important. And I want to name it, to say the names of the ones that today are suffering because of this. We have today in Brussels, President Puigdemont and Ministers Ponsatí, Comín and Puig. We have today in jail Vice President Junqueras, Minister de Forn, and Jordi Sánchez and Jordi Cuixart, both organizers of the civil society. And just today, they were released from prison, Ministers Bassa, Borràs, Romero, Mundó, Rull, and Turull. They are persons, they are people, they are men and women who have a serious problem of repression in their lives because they are following what the people ask in the streets them for do and vote for do. I might remind that in the last elections, the majority of the votes, also the votes, we can discuss on that if you want to later on, also the votes, and the majority of the seats were to parties that on their platforms, on their electoral platforms, say we will proclaim independence. So I myself vote these guys for doing what they did, and because they did that, they are now in jail or in exile in Europe 2017. Finally, this is also an European affair. It's no longer an internal affair, it's an European affair, and I think it have a serious European dimension after the President Juncker behavior on this crisis. The European Union is in a big crisis. I think it's obvious, everyone understands that. I agree very much with Bulgarian political science writer Ivan Kastsev in the book After Europe. He describes Europe saying you have policies but not politics in Brussels, and politics but not policies in the capitals. So this can work. This is a kind of postmodern fascism, where the decision on the daily life of the people is in the hands of people you never vote, and the people you vote can decide anything. So the position, the behavior of the European Commission with Catalonia is in the same line that they took with the Greek people when they decide to vote in a referendum against the austerity measures, and the European Commission refused to accept that. The same thing in Italy when they changed Prime Minister twice without anyone voting them. More or less the same thing that part of the United Kingdom decided to leave the European Union because they don't feel comfortable within this structure. I think the European Union have a very fundamental problem, and if it doesn't change, and it doesn't change very quickly, that could be a disaster, a major disaster for Europe. And in this case, what they did was extremely wrong, because what Mariano Rajoy did after the referendum was not using the 155 article of the Spanish Constitution. No, that's not true. You can read it. He is not using that. The 155 article doesn't allow him to fire the president, doesn't allow him to dissolve the parliament. he was doing a full coup d'etat. He was against every measure was against the Spanish constitution and of course against the Statute of Autonomy of Catalonia. But if Mariano Rajoy can do that, if he was able to send the police to the street to beat the people that was only wanting to vote, etc., etc., that was because, first because the Socialist Party in Spain agreed with him, something really difficult to understand, but anyway, that's the problem, but especially because the European Union did. Not the capitals, but Brussels. And so Brussels is playing a fundamental role on the debate, because, and that's my final thought, we are now in a moment, in sort of a timeout, in a moment of impasse. We know there is elections very soon. I think no one can predict the outcome of these elections. The situation is so volatile that it's crazy to predict what can happen. But everyone agreed that the pro-independence parties either will win or will be very close to winning, the three parties together, even if there is a chance that they could reach 50% of the popular vote. If this happens, the Spanish government must do something, because you will have the same problem 3 months later. And the Spanish government is saying, we will dissolve again the assembly, we will fire again the president. But how many times? 3, 4, 5? Which kind of situation is this one? For how many times can Spain prevent political debate to be part of the scenario, to be the force that can solve the problem we have? This is, I think, is the big question. Of course, the pro-independence movement will not disappear tomorrow. This is some magical, this wishful thinking to believe that because they use the constitution that the pro-independence movement will disappear. This is not true, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens after this election, but even after 1, 2, 3, 4 more years, what we saw on October the 1st, the extreme level of violence we saw in our streets, in our towns, is opening an ocean between Spain and Catalonia. There is a serious, large part of the Catalan population that will not accept never come back, because this is too much away from what we can understand and for what we can accept. So the only solution would be a political dialogue that if Spain is not ready to accept, then the only solution is an international position forcing Spain to accept that there is not any solution other than a pact and a dialogue, and letting Catalans vote and decide if we want to be part or not of the current Spanish state.